game is it's a game about space and lesbians in space. We're playing Heaven Will Be Mine.
I know this is what. Yep.
Woo.
Fantastic introduction, everyone. We did it. We'll take our award now. So whoever hands out awards for people on the internet.
Sure, there have to be podcast awards.
Yes.
Oh, there probably is.
Yes,
I know
there is.
Spoonie won an award a while back, or like tried to campaign for one. I don't know.
I know for a
Internet
fact they do.
awards confuse me.
Sony, I know for a fact, doing a one for podcasts. So yeah, Sony, if you're listening, please, we would love one.
I think we should go for reverse psychology. Sony, if you're listening, fuck you. We don't want your award. You suck.
Speaking of people who should fuck off and who suck, Graham Lineham.
Okay, like Thomas said earlier, we are going to be talking about Heaven Will Be Mine this episode. I'm recording this the Monday after I did the Saturday recording for our Valentine's Day special, so this is probably going to be like the Halloween situation where this is going to come out first somehow, and it's going to sound confusing but on my end, but hang with me here. We're going to talk about something very gay. We haven't really done that as much as I thought we would because, like, 3/4 of this podcast crew is incredibly gay.
Guess who the outlier is?
Aww.
The weird thing, I'm the only person of color here. What? Actually, now that I think about it, Laura was white, both Tom and Megan are white. Oh god damn, I'm surrounded by honkies.
I'm black.
Are you 21 Savage?
I am. I'm deep undercover. I thought, like, ISO after me, what's the whitest thing I could possibly do? So I'm guesting on a podcast about video games.
I'm the host and I'm the only one who's not white, and oh boy. Okay, let's just go ahead and get into the news stories, because we have two to go over, but first let's start with Donkey Kong and trans rights.
Here we go. Performance for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap. As we take you through this monkey rap. He's gay. He's the leader of the bunch. You know him well. He's finally back to kick some tail. His coconut gun can fire in spurts. If he shoots ya, it's gonna hurt. He's bigger, faster, and stronger too. He's the first member of the DK crew. He's gay. Donkey Kong. He's gay. Donkey Kong is gay.
Yay!
Donkey Kong supports trans rights now, people. Sorry, that's it. Donkey Kong is entirely pro. As is Doom. Doom is now pro-trans.
Yep.
Unfortunately, so is Daikatana, and some of the themes from the video game Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z, which is a very bad game that Grant Kirkhope also composed for, but he did good compositions, so, you get what you get.
He composed on the new Mario vs. Rabbids game, so that's trans now too.
Yeah, that's not that surprising. Have you seen the Peach Rabbid?
I don't make a habit out of seeing rabbits.
And on top of
Mario's in Super Smash Brothers. Every Super Smash Brothers supports trans rights.
Oh yeah, that goes without saying.
So
Yeah.
the whole cast of Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Did he,
all the Mega Mans, because they all appear in Mega Man's Final Smash.
Yep.
Yep. King Dedede.
Let's just say everyone except Kratos.
Yeah.
Kratos seems like an asshole.
He's gonna be the
Kratos is an asshole, but I don't think he would care.
That's
He
fair
doesn't
enough.
seem like the kind of person who actually cares much about gender roles. He cares more about murder.
Murder is
He cares deeply about murder.
murder is very
Kratos'
inclusive.
voice actor to say trans rights okay.
Unfortunately, okay, let's back up for a minute. So, in case you were living under a fucking rock, there was a YouTuber named H-Bomber Guy, who I'm a big fan of, even though I do have some problems with some of his takes, especially when it's like, okay, this thing is bad, but it was clearly supposed to be bad, or maybe it was supposed to be bad, so that means it's good. And no,
Like Sherlock.
that's not how it works.
Spec Ops the line.
This is a guy who did an hour-long video on why Sherlock is bad.
No, 2 hours.
Is it 2? Oh god,
Yeah.
it is 2 hours.
Fallout 3 was the one that was barely an hour and a half.
Yes, H-Bomber Guy decided to, after doing a video on why he loves speedrunning, which is actually really good, I suggest you check it out, because he even mentions something relevant here about someone finding a secret collectible coin in Donkey Kong 64 to get 101%, like 2 decades after the game first released, which is amazing. But he decided he was going to do a Donkey Kong 64 101% completion stream but he hadn't figured out when. And then Graham Lineham stepped in, the notable piss boy and trash man. And hang on, I have more descriptions of him somewhere in here if I can
What was the one?
find them.
Prodigious buffoon.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes, he decided to screw with a trans charity called Mermaids that helps trans children by giving them counseling and other useful resources for coping with their gender identity and such. And yeah, he basically tried to screw with the UK lottery.
National
what
Lottery.
is it called?
It's the National Lottery.
Yeah.
What Graham Lineham basically tried to do is mobilise a militant group from the mothering website Mumsnet to go on the offensive against the National Lottery to force them to cut funding to said charity.
Yeah, so they might end up losing like 250 Monopoly dollars. I guess that's what English money's called. And so the plans changed, and this is when H-Bomber Guy decided to do the DK stream, but now to raise money for Mermaids, and also to spite Graham Lineham, who once did like writing for a good TV show 20 years ago or something.
I think
And
he
that's
made
about it.
Ted or something. Yeah, he directed Ted.
An American audience will probably remember him once for one episode of Adventure Time in which he voices the single most annoying character in the episode.
Which one was that?
I have no idea, I just know it's on his IMDb.
Okay, but anyway, so the stream happened, and things exploded. Attention quickly gathered, and eventually got to the point that, originally the people who were helping organize this thought the biggest name they could get was Jim Sterling, because he's big internet famous. But then, the following people came onto this stream. John Romeo, the creator of Doom. Grant Kirkhope, the composer for the Rare and now Playtonic, and the voice of Donkey Kong, who on stream said trans rights in Donkey Kong's voice. Chelsea Manning, Mara Wilson, the one a congresswoman from New York, Alexandra. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this name. How do you?
Ocasio-Cortez?
Ocasio-Cortez.
That's it. I'm the one of color, and I'm the one who has trouble pronouncing.
And she didn't know where the switches were.
But she did like the N64. They all came on, and basically by the end of it, I think they raised nearly $500,000. So yeah, Graham Lineham got owned massively on Twitter as this was going on with a hashtag saying, "Thanks, I think Graham." And
Thanks, Graham.
everyone was dunking on him. His tweets got increasingly ridiculous because he didn't know how to respond to this, because every single turf play in the book suddenly didn't work because just a bunch of people were giving out the goodness of their hearts to a good trans cause because some guy was playing Donkey Kong 64 in his undershirt with Sobek written on his forehead. And like, how do you counter that? But I do think it's worth mentioning that because of the unexpected attention this got, the organizers like Dan Olson, who does Folding Ideas, a really good YouTube channel, and damn it, I forgot to write her name down.
Casey Explosion?
Yeah, that's it. They had trouble getting actual trans women of color onto the chat properly because of all the increased interest. And there were some questionable voices on there, for example, a member of Chapo's Trap House was on there, and I have my own personal issues with them. They're basically something also for personalities who cleaned up their image over a while back and became leftist podcasters, but still use like ableist language, particularly the R slur, which I'm not... You can understand. That's something that kind of hits me in a bit of a personal level nowadays. And ContraPoints, who is a trans woman, but has said and done some very questionable things that a lot of trans women I actually know kind of hate her for. Particularly how she tries to single-handedly appropriate slurs. Because that's not how that works. But, like, it was flawed, but it was overall considered a positive thing that happened. They got to drag Graham Lineham, which is always a worthy cause, because fuck that piss baby. and a lot of people are considering helping out if HBomber Guy ever decides to do another stream like this again and organize it better in case stuff like this gets this ridiculous. And what's even cool is this is inspired a second stream from another gaming streamer who's decided to dunk on Australian politician, let's see here, Mark Latham, who stated his party would not allow self-identification as trans while citing, and I put in my notes here, in 4 quotation marks, science. He is also a piss boy. And he was raising donations for the Parents of Gender Diverse Children, another charity in Australia, which raised, in his stream of Tony Hawk Games, he's a smaller time streamer, so we ended up raising about $6K on stream and inspired $2K in direct donations to the charity, which is still very nice. And that was about, I think that was about what HBomber Guy said he expected to get for his stream. So, like, if this becomes a running thing in the gaming community, this might be the first good thing that the gaming community has ever done.
Did anyone see any bits of the HBomber Guy stream live?
Yes.
No.
The Cortez bit.
Yeah, me
I
too.
was there
saw
when that
clips.
happened, and that was I saw everyone's reaction, and they're like, AOC wants to talk to everyone, and HBomber Guy's face like, what? I
like
think
how-
he still had Sobek written on his forehead at that point. I don't
I
remember.
like how he's really taken aback when she finally comes on, and for 10 seconds he's like, "Oh my goodness, wow, thank you."
Do you know how to turn the power back on in this stage?
No, and then he pauses and goes, "I committed so much voter fraud for you." And she goes, "Pardon?" And he goes, "Nothing. Anyway." And I don't want to detract from the amazing goodness of it, but I was trying to look up that clip. HBomber Guy uploaded the clip himself, but I was trying to look up the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez clip, and some angry right-wing conspiracy theorist has already made a video about that specific moment. And it's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen, where, the guy says, "Oh, I committed so much voter fraud for you." And the right-wing guy pauses the stream and goes, "That's just the guy in charge of the stream joking about committing voter for fraud for her. And then he pauses for like 10 seconds and goes, he's probably joking. Or is he?
Does he also think the Earth is round?
Globe heads.
Dark, the Earth is round.
That's just what Selvig wants you to think.
Yeah.
God damn it. It's in fact square. Perfectly rectangular.
So yeah, that was just an amazing little moment we had last month that I hope happens more often because we need like good time stories like this. But our next story is more gaming industry bullshit. And it's actually kind of confusing because I do need to give some backstory I've forgotten to give you guys because so you know what Fortnite is, right?
Yes.
No.
What's
Is
that?
Fortnite trap music?
It's like
I
2
think-
weeks, isn't it?
Marshmallow just did a concert, so it's not trap music, but it is like
Marshmallow trap music?
Who is Marshmallow?
no, I think he's house music. I don't know.
Is this Lost?
He's Dead
Is
Mouse
Lost
for
trap
millennials.
music?
He's Dead
I mean,
Mouse.
no, he's Dead Mouse for Gen Z.
He's Dead Mouse.
Is he a bigot like Dead Mouse?
Not that I know of.
Oh, thank God.
Is he the one who's in Kingdom Hearts?
No, that's
I would not
Skrillex
be surprised.
and Tadu Hikaru.
But anyways, the developers of Fortnite, Epic Games, are making their own online storefront to compete with Steam, which I was initially excited about because that means, oh my god, there's actual competition against Steam now because every other store is going for their own little niche, and there's actually someone going after Steam, meaning I may not have to buy from Steam anymore. But then they laid out what some of their plans are, like an influencer, like a system, discovery system on their store front that's based on how many influencers are talking about your game and like, okay, fuck off. Fuck off, Epic. Fuck off. We don't need more of that shit. Steam already did that and expected influencers to do it for free, but somehow paying influencers for talking about games makes it worse? So yeah, Epic can go fuck themselves.
By influencers, they basically mean they want Let's Players and everyone's favourite racist Nazi Swedish person to play it, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, I've guessed.
It's more complicated than that, but it's a terrible system overall, and I hope it never happens. And I will never be buying from the Epic Store if they have that system in place, because fuck that. That is both insulting to influencers, I say in quotations, and people who actually make games. Like, fuck off. But anyways, in order to promote their store, Epic has been making exclusivity deals with a few studios, and this includes the publishers of the new Metro Exodus coming out, the latest game in a series of Russian first-person shooters, post-apocalypse things based off a book series.
Metro.
That publisher's... What?
Metro.
Yeah, that's what I said. Metro Exodus is the next game.
Excellent series of Russian novels that share similarities with Tchaikovsky's Stalker, which is also a video game, I think.
Oh yeah, it is. Well, the publisher is Deep Silver, the people who brought you the famous Mighty Number 9 trailer, the anime fan on prom night.
And the Dead Island trailer
Oh yeah.
that made everyone scream about how games are art. And then Dead Island came out.
So they make good
You have
trailers,
4
but not
characters
good
to choose from, and they've all done horrible things and don't really regret it. Enjoy. Art. But anyways, Deep Silver is a... As far as I can tell, they've done nothing good ever.
Didn't they do
And,
Saints Row?
What?
Don't they do Saints Row?
That is a good question.
I think they did Saints Row from 3 on or something.
I need to double check that. But no, they're don't they work as publishers these days, not developers? because they're not developing Metro, they're publishing it. And also, I think they're owned by the Koch brothers.
Yeah, they are definitely owned by Koch Media.
Yeah, then fuck them.
It said that in one of the stories you linked earlier.
Yeah, fuck them. But anyways,
Yeah.
what's happening is Deep Silver entered an exclusivity deal, I don't think with the consent of the actual developers of Metro, but they're the publisher, and this is video games, so developers don't get any say ever, I guess. So they entered an exclusivity deal with Epic for their new online store to move the game there for a timed exclusive for 1 year, which is fine. It's like, okay, that's fine. You just gotta install another another launcher. Big whoop! It doesn't cost anything. You still get to play the game, and it's cheap.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It's $10 cheaper on the Epic Store than it would be on Steam.
Yeah, so like it's a bit of a dick business move, but I don't mind because it's not like console exclusives where you have to spend hundreds of dollars to play a different game. You can just get another launcher. And there are of course a bunch of piss babies mad that they have to get another launcher that isn't Steam. So fuck them.
Yeah.
But things get complicated.
Yeah, like initially when I read this, I saw like tons of people were mad about, I shouldn't say tons because it's always overblown, but
yeah, it's the usual review bombers.
Yeah.
They're review bombing all the other Metro games now.
People were mad, like they're to be clear, all the pre-orders taken from Steam will still be recognized, and they'll still get their games, and people who physically pre-ordered instead of a Steam code, they'll get an Epic code.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so they're still going to get their game. Again, both launchers are free. There's no way that you would be able to install Steam but not be able to install the Epic Store. So anyone who wanted to play it on PC, should still be able to play it on PC, no problem.
But where we run into a problem is that Deep Silver and somehow THQ Nordic is involved in this, and I'm not entirely sure how, are terrible at explaining things to people. Because one of those stories I posted has 2 updates explaining basic concepts, like that mention of the Epic code. Apparently they forgot to tell people who ordered a physical copy that they would be getting an Epic code, and it's like, oh boy. But yeah, everything they've been saying, THQ in particular seems to be going back and forth on things, not being clear on what's actually going to happen. They're all very clearly terrified of the piss babies because video game publishers are always terrified of the piss babies. Isn't that the case? But they also realize they're piss babies, and maybe they shouldn't give in to the demands of the piss babies. But I've gathered so far from this is that when they entered this exclusivity deal, they didn't really think ahead of how this was going to work. Because I'm not even entirely sure if you pre-ordered on Steam, if you will still have still get a valid key for the Epic Store, or you will still be able to get it on Steam when it launches. Because that's not clear at all. And it's not even clear if you need a receipt to prove you got it on Steam or something, which is something I heard rumbling about, and what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that is kind of the problem, that they had already had a place and they already took pre-orders for it on the Steam store. Then while those being sold, after copies were already being sold, they said, oh, we're not publishing on Steam anymore. That is weird and something that I don't think has ever happened before.
Yeah, they did not think out how they were going to handle people who have already bought the game expecting it. And now they're trying to fix that right now, but it's taking too long and people are mad. It's a weird mess where there are a lot of people who are mad in a justifiable way because they don't know if the thing they paid for they can get. And it turns out if they get it via a code, they won't be able to refund it on the Steam store, because if you activate a game via code, that does not count as a Steam purchase, and you cannot get a refund for that if you feel necessary, which kind of shitty, I'll admit. And that's how it's going to be distributed, because nobody knows anymore. It's a giant fucking mess. It's just What are you doing, game publishers? What the fuck are you doing?
It's the sort of thing that can be ironed out fairly quickly with like a 2-line press release. We will honour your order. You will get a Steam code via.
Hey, you know an easy way that this could be fixed? Or, well, not fixed, but an easy way this could be patched up a bit? Is if Steam just canceled the pre-orders, refunded the money. But they're not going to do that because they have the money and they don't want to get rid of them.
And also, they don't want to do work. The only work they will do is leaving a passive-aggressive message on Metro Exodus's fucking Steam store page about how hurt they are about
how it betrayed, how it's unfair to their customers.
And that's a fucking load coming from Valve, the people who let their system be gained by bigots and basically took off a bunch of queer-made games before putting them back on after realizing that because they did no work in their fucking store page, their storefront, that terrible bad actors can just game it however they want. And and the worst part, their system now is we don't have to do anything. We just let the community decide what games get the most attention, which has basically destroyed the storefront entirely.
You know what's unfair to customers? Letting people sell crypto mining software, like disguise crypto mining software as cheap games or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's going on, isn't it?
Yeah, letting people sell computer viruses onto your...
I'm surprised.
My favorite thing is that I remember that there have been games on the Steam store that don't have executable files. So there's literally no game when you buy it.
So I really, I guess, can't find a way to side with Steam.
Everyone involved in this is terrible except the people who just wanted to play a new Metro game and are not piss babies who care about having only one launcher.
And I mean, if the Epic Store is at least going to challenge them and kind of open the market to more like storefronts on PC, and also flood the markets with higher rates going back to the developers.
It won't. The thing about that... No, it's not going to, because remember that influence system I mentioned? Guess who gets a cut of a game's profits for advertising the game?
The influencer. Or influencers.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly...
Yeah, you're basically still getting about the same amount, and possibly even less than Steam, depending on how this system is implemented. So it's actually worthless for independent developers.
If I remember correctly, the developers get to actually choose what that cut is, if they opt into it.
Yeah, but if they don't opt into it, that means they don't get coverage, and they won't really appear on the store that often, which is the exact reason they want to leave Steam, because they're not making any sales on Steam, because it's just one big perpetuating mess. And both of these companies are run by libertarian fuckheads, so of course this is what's happening. Anarcho-capitalism horseshit. It's all bad. The only good that can come from the Epic Store is taking a bite out of Steam along the bigger developers, but that's it. Yeah.
It sounds...
Is this a bad time to mention that I'm also funded by Coke Media?
Not you too.
Well, you are the whitest of us.
Yeah. If slavery is real, how come I've never met a single slave? Checkmate, liberals.
Don't make that same mistake twice, globalists.
I am actually the entire branch of Turning Point UK at this moment.
Oh god, I saw that Twitter. They had a meltdown before... They had a meltdown even before they were supposed to be mad at something.
Basically summarized...
If global warming is real, why is snow cold?
You have no fucking idea how many times I've heard that in this fucking country on TV for the last decade.
But Turning Point literally turned into that Spider-Man gif of two Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
Oh god. Yeah, so that's your news talk, everyone. Let's get into what we've been playing.
Hey.
Who wants to start us? Oh, hang on, I need to get the timer. Fuck.
Talk about Dark behind his back again.
If Dark was a
I
Kingdom
think-
Hearts character, what Kingdom Hearts character would Dark be?
Bayonetta.
Bigness is not in Kingdom Hearts.
I just realised, if they do put Sora in Smash Brothers, because Donkey Kong trans
Okay,
icon
I'm back,
is in,
I'm back.
because Donkey Kong trans icon is in Smash Brothers, if they put Sora in Super Smash Brothers, does that mean that the entire Kingdom Hearts series, and thus Final Fantasy and Disney, which means all the Avengers as well?
No,
Alright, since
it can mean that because Walt Disney's a Nazi. So.
Yeah, it would actually work in reverse, and
It
everyone
cancels
would
out.
hate the Jews.
Oh no!
Okay, let's, who wants to go first? We got 7 minutes.
I'll go first because
Go.
I've really only played one thing since last time. Haven't done much video gaming. I bought a new laptop.
Ooh, good laptop.
A high-end gaming laptop from a brand called Republic of Gamers.
How many angles and polygons does it have covered on it?
It goes up to 1080p.
No, I mean how many literal physical polygons are on the actual hardware of the device? How many sharp edges are on it? Can you cut yourself on it?
They're all rounded.
Oh wow, then you don't actually have a gaming PC.
But the keyboard lights up.
Dang.
And every time I turn it on, it has a big whoosh, which I wish I could turn off.
Can we hear the
But
bush?
no, I'd have to turn off my laptop, and that would kind of mess up this recording. But it came with a code for Call of Duty Black Ops 4,
I'm
which,
so sorry.
Dark, I will jump out ahead of you and say, no, there are no loot boxes.
Wow.
Because I know you were going to ask that.
Dang.
There
I
are no
actually
loot.
forgot to ask.
There are no loot boxes in it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are there microtransactions of any kind?
Oh yes. You buy Call of Duty points, and then you can get like cosmetic items.
Okay,
But-
yeah, that's still pretty shitty.
But they have like a battle pass system, which is free, and you just earn cosmetic items for the battle pass as you play, and you get a daily tier skip for if you win a game in multiplayer, or get a merit like a kill or a top 15 in Blackout, or do whatever in zombies. I don't care about zombies, so I don't know. You get a
That still sounds shitty.
yeah, you get a skip in the tier.
Yeah, it sounds like every mobile game I've ever played, and I didn't like it then because I hate games that make me form a habit of playing it daily.
I like it because it gives me a reason to jump into Black Ops 4 every day. Because Black Ops 4 is fun. I'm having a ton of fun with it.
How many brown people have you shot? America.
Well, this is a multiplayer-only game. There's no single player in this game.
Oh yeah, I remember they did that and turned it into Fortnite, but America.
So like the characters, they're like,
America.
let's see, Prophet is black. I don't really know much about the characters. I haven't paid much attention to them because I found Battery, who
They're
is
guns in America.
because I play as Battery, who is a buff girl with a pink mohawk, and she has just a ton of grenades, and she's my favorite. But yeah, it's kind of like a hero-based multiplayer system where each one has a certain skill set, and you can sort of customize the type of guns that you come out with and stuff. And I'm just having a lot of fun with it. It feels, I don't know. I've been gradually getting better at it, and I played a lot of Blackout at first, the Battle Royale mode, and I just couldn't get the hang of it. And then I just kind of curiously jumped into the Nuketown playlist because they had just launched Nuketown, which is a very small map. So I was able to get a lot of kills in a match, even if I died a lot. Everyone was just so close together that I was able to get kills. And that helped me get a lot better in that game, just playing that playlist for days straight. So I've just pretty much just been playing multiplayer on that.
Blood for
every day.
Uncle Sam. He hungers.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's fun. The shooting feels really good, like in how Titanfall 2 felt good. I wish, but I keep wishing there was wall running, which I think Black Ops 3 had wall running and everyone hated it apparently. But it's making me wish that Titanfall 2 had a active player base, because that was such a fun, that multiplayer was so fun. The movement in that, the shooting, it felt so good.
Honestly, we should be glad instead, because if EA released another Titanfall sequel today, if they actually cared about it, they'd have an entire fucking chart on when you can actually play it. By the way, Anthem is a bad game. No, I've not played it, but it is a bad game.
But yeah. Anyway, that's my segue into, apparently there is a Titanfall Battle Royale without any Titans coming, which sounds weird, but some footage is going up on Giant Bomb later, and from the sounds of it, from what the Giant Bomb person who played it can say without violating embargo, it sounds like they really enjoyed it. So I'm tentatively looking forward to that, because honestly, the pilot gameplay in Titanfall 2 is a lot more fun than the mech gameplay.
Yes, but giant robots.
Yeah, but
Are there lesbians in the giant robots?
wall running. We'll get to that later.
Anything else?
I played the Resident Evil 2 one-shot demo. It was awesome. I'm going to play through Resident Evil 1 and try to finally finish the Resident Evil 1 remake before I actually buy Resident Evil 2 and play that.
Resident Evil 2 Remake was made with non-union acting.
Mm-hmm.
Video game.
Turns
Alright,
out a
will
lot
that
of
be
games
all?
coming out around now are made with non-union acting.
That sucks.
Because all the games coming out now were recorded during the strike, pretty much.
Yeah.
Good to be aware of this stuff.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Actually, why don't I just go and get my stuff out of the way, since I already did what I've been playing for our Valentine's Day special, so I just have a few small things on to talk about, aka I'm going to talk about my Let's Play channel, fucking deal with it.
Way, Wario Land.
Yeah, I've playing some games for my Let's Play channel. I already mentioned Mage's Initiation on the Valentine's Day special, which is probably going to come out after this, but fuck it. I finished Card City Nights finally, so the finale of that will be coming out eventually, and in typical fashion, after my episode 8 debacle, where I basically lost all my narration and about 4 episodes worth of content, and I had to just put together a thing explaining what happened. The last 15 minutes of the last episode of Card City Nights disappeared, but I thankfully still had the game footage, so I was able to show everyone the ending credits sequence where I got the ranking of Business Casual Man, and then showed Business Casual's walk cycle, and it's amazing. Business Casual Man is the single best character ever made in any video game, and I will hear nothing saying otherwise. It was a really fun game. It was a really fucking hard game by the end of it, because holy shit, that last boss. And then there's still more post-game content I can do, but fuck it. It's a giant card game style crossover of all the games from an indie studio called Ludicity. They made stuff like E.G., which I know a lot of people have heard of, like from the early indie scene. Murray, which I've played, it's kind of a Commodore 64 throwback. Stuff like, what was it? Like, Ittlebit? I think that was what it's called. They've done a lot of stuff, and of course, wherever Business Casual Man comes from, their most recent game, I think, was Slap City, that Smash Brothers like. Look into them. I finished my replay of Hotline Miami as well, and it encountered problems because it's a indie game from 2013. So, of course, Windows 10 despises it. So it kept crashing after about an hour of play, so it was hard to record episodes properly, but I eventually finished it as a full 10-episode series. Still really good game, still dumb as rock story, and I genuinely hate what the sequel did to that narrative by taking the one interesting idea of it and going and like, no, now this is about like nuclear war and like serial killers or whatever. Like, fuck off. Wario Land 2 is still one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. Fight me.
Way.
Yeah, the Wario Land series after Mario Land 3 Wario Land is basically just a giant series of Metroidvanias, but combat is replaced by puzzle solving and purposely getting hurt to solve puzzles. And it does have one problem where, because you can't die, the bosses, to punish you, just send you back a significant amount, so it takes like a minute or two to get back to them, which is great for LP purposes. But other than that, it's a really fun and still really cleverly designed game.
Which boss kept knocking you back?
First the snake one, and then I'm up to the bird one so far. I've only completed the first row of the big puzzle painting, so I think it's going to be a 16-episode series. I have 4 recorded so far, and I started the original Mega Man Battle Network, which I have not played, but I've played 2, 3, and 4. And 4 was like, okay, I've had enough. The Mega Man Battle Network series had 6 games. We do not count that console one. Nobody likes it. It's terrible. We don't count it. Oh, and I think there was also one other spin-off, but I don't care about that. Nobody did. But basically, every game after 3 is pointless and bad, and barely has any story or has very stupid story. The story in 2 was bizarre because it ends on a really melodramatic note where you find out Mega Man is like the cyber soul of Lan's dead baby brother who died of like a heart disease. And I'm like, slow down a second. What? But I've never played the original. I'm playing it now. It's pretty archaic, but it still has a lot of the stuff I love from the series, like how every web area looks like a GeoCities nightmare. It's actually causing some recording issues because of the backgrounds moving all the time. It caused OBS to go like, what the fuck do I do? But thankfully that's not a huge issue because it's not a game that has a lot of animation to begin with, so whatever. And I've also played a few demos from itch.io for one-shots. Look up Ancients in New York. It's a current Game Jam prototype that only has 2 levels to it, but it's really interesting. It is a Game Boy Color style 8-bit platformer puzzle game where you can shift between worlds, a regular desolate world and a world where a monster is constantly chasing you and really wants to eat you and has some clever puzzle platforming, even though it is very early and has a lot of glitches. I played Coffee Talk, which unfortunately I can't do an episode on because there's so much animation in it that OBS just does not know what to do with this shit. But it is VA11 Hull A-like, and it's really interesting, even though it seems to be like an urban fantasy version of it with much more rote dialogue. Like it's the tech bubble San Francisco version of it. So take from that what you will. The same team also did a game I did a LP called Project Baton, which looks like they're not going to be finishing for a very long time, and the current demo they have barely has any gameplay whatsoever. But it has nice sprite art, and there are lots of cat boys. And I also did play one that's very promising, a demo called Through the Window of Bizarre Ecstasy. It seems to be a visual novel game that takes a lot of inspiration from, like, the general atmosphere of the Note series, like Steins Gate and so forth. And it is about a robot dealing with human emotion. I'd say go check that one out right now. It's really promising. It has a great art style, and I made it just before time went up. Yay!
Hey.
Now, you want to go, Elmo?
Yeah, because I got a real quick Wario Land 2 thing that I just remembered.
Oh, go for it.
I've never told this to anyone, no, because it's not very interesting. But when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I remember at one point my sister came into my room and I was crying, and she said, "Oh, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" And I kind of paused and just went, "Nobody loves me." And she went, "Oh, don't," and she gave me a big hug, and and I went and hung out with both of my sisters for a few hours, and we had lots of fun, and they were like, "We love you. Your family loves you. This is great. Don't be sad." And it was really great, but the real reason I was crying is that I deleted my Wario Land 2 save intentionally to play it again, and I was stuck on the fucking Bumblebee boss. And if you can't beat the Bumblebee boss, you can't fight the super cool basketball bunny. It's just a great boss, and I love it. And, so yeah, sorry to my sisters for that. And even when I was 7, I was like, "Don't tell them you're crying about the Bumblebee. That won't be cool." I've played a lot of stuff lately, so I'm going to have to cut. I had this thing in my notes just because it was my mum's birthday earlier this month, and I went to see her and say hi. And I mentioned that I got her a Steam account for Christmas. And I'm going to skip right to the end of the story. I told her that I did a Caesar 3 podcast with 3 people who couldn't get past the tutorial, and she laughed and said, "They suck." So I just, like, I love you, thank you for having me, but, yeah, I just thought it was hilarious that she didn't say that in those exact words. Her exact words were, "Failing the tutorial, that's like riding a bike with training wheels and still falling off." So... not me. That's
She's
just
not
my
wrong.
mum.
Now's probably a bad time to mention I
said.
don't know how to ride a bike.
Me neither.
I don't know how to ride a bike. I've never had a bike.
I know how to ride a bike.
Ooh. Get a load of bike riding guy over here. That's not my best insult.
Can you teach us how to ride a bike?
Yeah. I've been playing the
next
frame.
month when we learn how to ride bikes.
Elmo, you have 4.5 minutes.
I've been playing the Framed collection. I'm not sure how to explain how I feel about it. It's the first game I've played in ages that makes me feel really sad that I'm not persuasive enough or in a position of power to make people play it. I just loved it. So it's a really simple kind of game. Every level is just like a selection of comic panels, and you essentially press a play button and you see what happens if the panels are in the order that they are. And, normally the little, like, film noir Black Shadow kind of private detective guy who you are, normally they get caught or they go through the wrong door or something, and you just have to rearrange the panels and make a little animation that works. It's really fun. I just want to make people play it. It's so good and funny and nice. And the Framed collection is Framed 1 and 2. And it's... okay, yeah, it's good, that's it.
This is going to be your pick for the panel episode, isn't it?
No, because I don't think it's under $5.
Okay.
I can do something really quickly, because I wanted to pick the game Hidden Folks for the panel episode, just because it's a game where all the sound effects are just made from people's mouths. And I really wanted to pick that, because other than that, it's just like a Where's Waldo style game that's not that interesting. But I wanted to pick it because then, as an activity, I could say, "Hey, I'm going to name a sound effect, and somebody try it, and we'll all see if..."
Good news,
if we were good
everyone.
enough to be in Hidden Folks.
Breaking news, everyone. Don't worry, I'm going to pause your time. I just got word that something awful is gone.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
The evil's been defeated!
Fuck off.
Okay, that was breaking news. Back to whatever Elmo was saying.
Wow. Pirate Ricky Gervais. I was talking about sound effects that I would ask you to do, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Somebody quickly do a Pirate Ricky Gervais voice.
Yaha. Yeah, I'm Ricky Gervais.
Yo!
I'm a pirate.
Yo! You offended?
I don't know how to do
Yo,
that
you
voice. I'm not
offended?
British
You
enough.
offended, yeah.
Hey, you know what, man? I love atheism.
man.
I love raping people. Man. Atheism.
My God, I'm not funny anymore, mate.
I offended that I pillaged your village, mate.
I see no ships, and I don't see no proof of no god, neither. Okay.
To be honest,
And for the last game... I went back to 100% orange juice. It's always been a game in my head where I was like, I was going to go back and play more of it, because it was Danny's first pick. It is very Binding of Isaac-y in that if I get into it, I could easily play it for 600 hours, which is why I don't want to get into it that much. Speaking of which, I've also started playing the Binding of Isaac again, and you know what that means? It means I need to tell my doctor that my dose of citalopram is insufficient. So I went back to 100% orange juice. It's one of those... There's always little things on the podcast where I think, oh, I wish I could say that differently, or do that. And for the 100% orange juice episode, I don't know, I just... feel like I just wish I'd been more into it, because it was good. I liked it. And then I played it and remembered why I was kind of so on it the first time. I would still describe it as a game for people who played Mario Party and went, you know what this needs? More dice. Everything should be dice. The mini games should be dice. You want to buy something? Roll a dice.
Games Workshop.
But yeah, it's still cute. It's also because I had never actually finished QP's storyline. I never finished her campaign. And so yeah, I had to go back and finish that. It was good. I played some more. I played a few more online. Once a year, we should definitely, now there's 4 of us, we should definitely all play an online game. And I had to uninstall it as soon as I finished QP's campaign, because I was like, how many other campaigns are there in this? I do not want to really get into this.
You do realize you just put Borderlands on the table.
Oh God.
Nope.
No, that's actually good. It's like made for multiplayer. Oh, and you have 30 seconds.
Okay. I really like how
Done.
the dialogue...
Done.
I like how the
done,
dialogue
done,
is
done,
kind of unnatural,
done,
but also really
done,
cute.
done,
Like when...
done,
Shut up, Doc, I'm animating! There's the bit where QP meets...
Done.
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 Done. Done.
Done.
Done.
Done.
Done.
Done.
Done.
I'm just gonna keep going now.
There's
There's the bit where QP
Okay,
meets...
Elmo's time is up. Let's.
There's the bit where
it's Thomas'
QP
turn.
meets
It's Thomas'
Santa,
turn.
and QP
Elmo,
meets Santa,
respect
who's
Thomas'
an anime
time.
girl.
Respect Thomas' time, Elmo.
I want to talk about Anime Santa.
I'll let him talk
No.
about anime, so I need the
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
Thomas talk about Anime Santa. Pudding cuckoldery.
What?
The part where QP meets Santa.
Elmo, what did we just say? What did we
Tama's
just
gone!
say?
Tama's
No,
gone,
what did we
Doc.
just say?
We just said, Elmo, tell me more
I'm
about
putting up the
100%
timer.
orange juice.
Okay, Tama, go.
Oh God. I've played 2 games this month. One of them is the game that basically, seemingly half the internet has been waiting something like 6 years for, which is Kingdom Hearts 3. And Kingdom Hearts 3 is basically everything you would expect and more. It's the same strange, Nomura-ish darkness and sort of light and far too many Disney characters.
Heart darkness, heart darkness,
Yes,
heart
darkness.
darkness.
Heart darkness, light. Darkness, heart, light, heart, darkness. Ah, darkness. And it's enjoyably. I think at this point Nomura has just finally lost his mind because
I heard what he ended up doing with Kaori and Aqua, and that sucks.
At the moment,
I won't give any spoilers, but that sucks.
Yeah, I'm not far in, but at the moment I am currently running around Tangled World. I've already been to Hercules World. And Sora has a mobile phone now.
I think Disney owns, like, was it New Line Cinema I'm thinking of?
Hmm.
They own a company like that makes a lot of like PG-13 and R-rated live-action films, and I think
they
one
used
of
to own
them was
Miramax. Probably
Miramax. That's
Miramax.
it. Did Miramax do any Rodriguez films?
There used to be Tarantino's lot, so you could. And this is the thing. This is what I think. What Kingdom Hearts 3 is really Nomura's last role with the standard vanilla Disney thing, because the idea of arch nerd Tetsu Nomura let loose on what Disney has bought in the last decade is both.
He fucking ruined it.
Because
I mean, Birth by Sleep was basically the Star Wars prequels
in KH4, whenever that comes. But no, I think I have enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 a great deal so far. At the moment, I've played it on a friend's PlayStation, but I have the game, and it's fun. And it appeals to me because it's small, it's pretty Japanese boys doing pretty Japanese things, and Mickey Mouse is
I'm currently thinking about that scene in Birth by Sleep where the stupid man who keeps getting told that darkness good, and is like, oh, darkness good. And then he's talking to Minnie Mouse, who is in a queen dress. It's like, I keep falling into the darkness.
I think it's best summed up by the famous panel from the manga, which is just the best thing ever. I'm just going to read this because it sums up Kingdom Hearts 3 perfectly. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it very quickly.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Well, don't worry. Here we go. This is from the Kingdom Hearts manga. Every world is defined. Remember, this is in the voice of Donald Duck. Every world is defined
We're
by.
going to do a Donald Duck voice.
Every world is defined by its particular boundary. Then some understanding of the reality emerges as truth. True truths cannot coexist, and so from the introduction of foreign bodies is conflicted, and chaos spawned. That's why we limit our involvement in local affairs. That is from.
Please do Donald.
Actually, if
Please do
anyone here
Donald Duck
had a
Ricky
deep
Gervais.
voice, they could just talk in Donald's regular voice, which is now canon.
Oh.
DuckTales made it canon. Donald does have a regular voice when his mouth isn't clogged up with crap.
Right.
Tama, please do Donald Duck Ricky Gervais.
I'm well funny. What?
That's racist.
Oh my god.
That's Mickey. Actually, that works too. Just keep doing Mickey saying terrible things.
But no, the Kingdom Hearts is a greatly enjoyable game, even though it clearly has lost the whatever plot. It's good. I think it's going to be an interesting series. By far, I don't think this is the end of it. The idea
You see,
that
there are
Square Enix
these
gonna
hearts,
end this at this point,
and there's this darkness,
and I think
and
we'll
the
probably
things
get
happen
Star Wars
because
and
the
or
bad
Marvel.
man, Leonard Nimoy, is
Yeah.
bad.
He's dead as well.
Also, nobodies and Heartless should be the exact opposite thing they say they are.
Yes. Also, why haven't we had David Bowie yet?
Well, you know why.
Well, yes, but Marvel.
He's dead.
Yeah, but Marvel. Disney owned Jim Henson. Jim Henson made Labyrinth. Jareth and Kingdom Hearts 4.
Actually, that could work since they didn't bring in Johnny Depp to play Jack Sparrow, which is
Yeah.
good because Johnny Depp can go fuck himself.
Has Johnny Depp actually got a career anymore?
Unfortunately, yes, but I
Thanks
think
to
the last
J.K.
thing.
Rowling.
Yeah, no bigot.
Oh, dear. Anyway, the other game I've been playing is far less exciting. I've managed to accidentally get myself addicted to the other great Square Enix money-making facility at the moment. Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh, the Mahjong game.
The Mahjong game. It's a game I've last played nearly 2 years ago, and oh my god.
1 minute!
Yeah, it's fun. It's a Japanese. It's probably now what is making Square Enix all of the money. Because frankly, they could just release another DLC and go, "Hey guys, It's another game with the Final Fantasy characters in it, and to be honest, it is great fun. Even if it is just average, MMORPG, it's fun, and that's what I've been playing this month.
All right, is that everyone?
So, Anime Santa is a girl.
Elmo,
And-
we've been through this.
and
Don't make me get the
QP.
newspaper.
And Popo steals all
No.
of Santa's presents.
No.
And then Cupid
The
is
only
like,
thing
"I'll
you're allowed to talk about with 100% orange juice is the pudding cuckoldery.
That is actually... I have a pudding thing.
Why do you
Because at the
Okay.
very end, when you reach the final boss, you're like, I want my pudding, give me back my pudding. And the final boss goes, fine, I'll explain why I took your pudding. And she goes, no explanation, just give me the pudding. And she goes, okay, fine, here's the pudding. Anyway, the reason And then she just goes, yay, pudding, and runs off. And the final boss is like, hey, I had a motive here.
Core motive still murder.
And then it just... Yeah.
I should mention that the ending of the other indie crossover event, Card City Nights, has you battling all these weird people with cards to get like $1 million at the end of it, and then when you finally win, the Card King's like, okay, but with taxes considered, you get 5,000. And then the bad guy was trying to get the money by manipulating everyone and cheating the rules and copying your deck. At the end of it, it's like, I did all this for 5,000 coins.
Money dollars.
That was a good game.
Anyway,
That was a very good game.
Cupid promises to help Santa, but only if Santa gives her 30% more presents. And then there's this really dramatic gasp, and one character goes, yeah, she revealed her true colours! And it just made me laugh so much.
Let's just go ahead and get into the main discussion now, or this
I'm
is
sorry.
never going to end.
Pitiful, heartless, mindlessly harvesting hearts.
Okay, so Heaven Will Be Mine. I actually, I don't know if you guys have played We Know the Devil, but I have.
I have.
Well,
I didn't like it
I think I have.
at all.
Have you, Elmo?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, that makes sense, because considering you're the whitest, straightest person here.
Hey,
What?
Whoa.
Was I wrong?
Elmo.
yes.
Ow.
No.
Okay, so Heaven Will Be Mine was made by Pillow Fights Games. It was written by I have no idea how to pronounce his first name. AVB, art by Maya Schwartz, and music by Alec Lambert. They formerly did We Know the Devil, a queer-based visual novel from... I forgot how long ago this released. It's been a while, I know that.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was probably like 2015, maybe?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it was post Gamergate, not pre.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's how I know about it, because people suddenly cared about queer games because there were a bunch of bigots running around. Okay, but anyways, We Know the Devil, I want to give some backstory first, so you get an idea of what we're dealing with here. Was a very strange game that dealt a lot with magical realism and like complicated symbolism, and it basically followed three girls going through summer camp and spending time with each other, and at the end of the scenario, one of the girls either gets excluded and gets possessed by the titular devil, or they just all end up like getting together and meeting the devil and like, yeah, I'm into this, and then everyone becomes devil or something.
It's very very abstract narrative, very kind of to its own detriment, I thought.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about my original take, and I think I was wrong on a lot of accounts, because the thing with We Know the Devil is that I was using a lot of Christian symbolism and like from a lot of familiar stuff and trying to subvert it, but I don't think it succeeded most of the time, which is how you get stuff like people seeing certain endings and thinking, oh, they all committed suicide or something, when it's not actually saying anything like that. Like, even I thought that at first, but then I thought about it again and realized, like, they're using a lot of loaded imagery, but they're not making it clear enough of what the subversion is.
Yeah, kind of my main issue with it when I played it, I didn't care for how it was written. It was written, like, the way I remember it being is the writing, the dialogue between the characters felt very realistic to how teens talk, which is a lot of, like, kind of, yeah, oh, just not, like, what's the best way to describe it? Like, kind of brief responses, talking around issues. Like, people in stories, they talk a lot more. People in stories talk a lot more than people actually talk. People don't get very personal when they talk, usually. And We Know the Devil reflected that, where people talked around things all the time and never talked about them, which it was realistic to how teens talk, but it didn't make for good story.
I understand what you're saying. I would say the bigger problem is there wasn't enough narration to fill in some of the gaps, so it actually did take a few playthroughs to actually gel with it, which is a problem because most people aren't going to give a visual novel that much time, I think. So I think they took like criticism like that into account when they made this game.
Yeah.
Because the few problems I had with We Know the Devil, which I actually did like quite a bit, aren't present in Heaven Will Be Mine at all. And I do like they simplified the symbolism significantly by playing with a lot of similar ideas in different ways. Yeah,
I completely agree. I did not expect to gel with this game at all as I did. I first reviewed it for Crunchyroll like back in August, September, a little bit after this came out. And eagle-eared viewers may remember, I said this was my favorite game of last year. This was Thomas' pick, so maybe Thomas should introduce what Heaven Will Be Mine is about.
Yeah.
So Heaven Will
Do it, nerd.
So Heaven Will Be Mine is set in space, in an alternative version of the 1980s, where in the 1960s, basically, the space race went a little bit faster than expected, and we ended up with robots and genetically altered kids in space. Now, of course, humanity, after having fought a potentially fictitious foe, decides, hey, space is bad, and decides to try and bring everyone back to Earth. You play as one of three characters, Saturn, Lunar Terror, and Pluto, who represent three groups inside the sort of the three who represent the three main factions. The Earth centric sort of faction,
the Memorial Foundation.
Memorial Foundation, represented by Lunar Terror. The
Cradle's Graces?
Cradle's Grace, which
yeah,
are
that's for Pluto.
who are the rebellious ones who want to stay out in space, and
then you have Celestial Mechanics who are like, "Fuck you, got mine."
yeah.
They just basically want to become more than human.
And it's sort of the game therefore focuses upon the interrelations, the battles, and relationships between the three characters. It takes obviously a lot of cues from 1980s and early 1990s mecha anime, so things like Gundam, Macross, and that sort of ilk. Obviously, both not only as sort of thematic elements, but as sort of obviously the look of the character designs is very reminiscent of the works of Yoshituka Tomino, the creator of Gundam. And obviously, it has that very grungy sort of alternate version of the 1980s, sort of part and parcel of it. Right.
I marked down a few of what I think are possible influences on this game. Gundam is the obvious one because, you know, the entire plot is based around these children who are basically like super soldiers of a sort, like with the whole psychic focus, fighting a war with Earth. You have a bit of Eva in there, but like how the mech designs are much more human-like than usual, and even are described in a very fleshy way at times. There's a lot of abstract perspective as well, and a focus on self-fulfillment within the narrative. And I also marked down one I think was going to go over the heads of a few people, even though this was a fairly big deal when it came out. Rapsifon, if anyone remembers that.
Vaguely remember that.
It was sort of like Eva with the Christian symbol, like Christian imagery taken much further. Like almost every mech design was based around like angelic stuff. It's very similar because the idea of the mechs being sort of treated like demigods in this game, the ship selves, is something that Rapsifon did a lot, but much more blatantly. Like, everything was a fucking angel. It was ridiculous. And, like, people were directly connected to what their machine felt, because it wasn't really a machine in that case. And I guess if you really want to go there, you can probably argue there's some G Gundam in there because of how mechs worked in that game as well, in that series as well. But, yeah, I think it would be a Rapsifon, Eva, and Gundam. They're, like, the main three pieces of glue. But I don't know for sure, but I'm sure they had a lot of other weird influences, because there was some weird mecha stuff going on for a while there. Like, remember that one series that I think was about a bunch of aliens giving a bunch of kids giant robots and letting them decide the fate of existence or something?
Was that Ideon, was it? No, Ideon is much earlier. Although I'd say there's a bit of Ideon in there.
It was some sort of child soldier style story, sort of. It's hard for me to remember, because that actually kind of feels like it describes like 7 different anime. Whatever, but you get the basic idea. But of course, this is a very gay game, so it uses these ideas and mixes it with queer themes, of course, and more universal themes. And what I do like about it, especially compared to We Know Devil, instead of the loaded Christian symbolism, which it didn't really know how to subvert properly, it uses much more straightforward symbolism based around math, gravity, and so forth.
I think one of the most striking things about kind of the world...
Oh yeah, it is Bokurano I'm thinking of. Okay, keep going.
One of the most striking things about the kind of world, the setting it has, is... the fact that the mechs, as they're called in the game, they're called ship selves. You have to like synchronize with them and sort of become one with them. They're like...
I love G Gundam.
Yeah. But I think what's interesting about them is it's pretty explicitly stated that there is no threat of death when battling for them. You are not... there is... It's battle, but it is not violent. No one dies. No one gets hurt. I think they describe it at one point as like just playing with toys.
Yeah, like the gravity is so strong that even if a ship itself is destroyed, it comes back together and the pilot survives.
And I think that's interesting. One, like it's I think it's good for the kind of medium it's told in visual novel. You can't. It's hard to kind of portray a lot of action well in that. I think it also kind of subverts the genre because those are usually about the huge battles, and these are more battle of wills. These are like they're battles of wills. Every time they come together, they're forming connections with each other. The different pilots.
It's also more thematically relevant because this game isn't really about wow, cool robots, or something like that. It's about the interpersonal relationships between the three main characters.
Yeah, you never really see the robots. You just see kind of like abstract representations of them. Like the colors are done in a way that stuff sort of blends together. There's no outlines, the contrast is really thick sometimes. Like when you see the Earth drone coming in one point, where it's much more defined than anything else to get across how alien it is compared to this more alien stuff you've been seeing throughout the game, because that is an actual machine for killing. Yeah,
like, there's cool stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the impersonal drone, whereas the piloted mechs are very flat and stylized, almost kind of like in a almost cubist style, I'd say, which is a really interesting and cool route to take your art for a mech game.
We know the Devil did something similar with the possession forms the girls went through, and one of the endings in this game definitely calls back to it very strongly. Yeah. So the idea of all this abstract art is to put across things that can't really be explained well because they're abstract concepts, which I like.
Yeah, I think the writing this time around actually delivers on that well. Whereas I didn't think it delivered on that abstraction well in We Know the Devil. I think it actually does it tremendously here.
Yeah, We Know the Devil, it was much more, actually pretty straightforward character symbolism based on stuff you learn about characters. But in here, it's not quite as straightforward. There's a lot of little extra details that don't really get called out as much, stuff like that.
Robots.
Yeah, these Tama just linked something into a chat.
I unfortunately can't look at it because I don't want to open my browser.
Okay, it's a series of sculptures made between 1913 and 1915 from Jacob Epstein. And these definitely, I would venture that either directly or indirectly, that the mech designs in Heaven Will Be Mine definitely took from these.
Definitely.
These are some...
Which you're looking at early cubist sort of things, stuff that sort of, the postmodernist, you're even sort of in elements of the sort of the futurists in that.
Yeah, these are like very explicitly cubist robot sculptures.
It would make sense if that was like an influence, because the team behind this do not strike me as like capital G gamer types. Like, all their influencers are from outside games, which makes them kind of a breath of fresh air for a lot of people.
Yeah, kind of like AVB, she has that publication, Zeal, which is very much about kind of like, it's a gaming publication, but sort of outside the box voices and ideas, and I think that comes through in the games that they make.
I mean, having played them and obviously reading Zeal, it is almost taking video games, at their most precise as art. For example, they wrote a very, very good article upon the original Legend of Zelda, and almost comparing it to a sort of a miniaturized garden in a box. And obviously from that, they then go and they look and they sort of obviously have a look at sort of how Japanese gardens are a miniaturization of the world, and sort of the video game cartridge is thus a miniaturized world within a cartridge. So they take a what I suppose one would describe as an overtly artistic or an overtly sort of, viewing a video game as, a reflection of the world, rather than what I think a lot of video game journalism is, which is obviously comparing video game to video game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I think we should kind of get to the heart of what we think this game is about.
Let's not get into spoilers just yet, though.
We can
talk about what it's about.
Talk about the themes.
Yes, I can go into this real fast and get like a foundation for this conversation.
I think it comes across as like if you look at the page, you might, or just kind of hear talking about it, you might think it's like, oh, it's a dating sim. It's not.
Nope.
It's very much not a dating sim. But I think I described it in my review as a game about queer love in like different forms. It's about those relationships like forming, broken, long lost. It's about all those different types of love that we can face.
And I would even suggest that each of the three characters represents a different approach to love.
Mm-hmm.
And they also, it's notable, they also have their own person they talk to before a mission and after a mission.
Yeah.
For Pluto, she has Mars, who is a mess. A pilot who's kind of a mess and tries to put up a really strong facade, but is kind of bad at it. Let's see. Mercury is with Saturn, and Mercury is actually a trans man, which was cool. It's made fairly clear in one of the messages you get, and they're in a gay relationship, and they're basically the voice that tries to keep Saturn in check, because Saturn is a garbage hot mess of nonsense. Her entire idea of what to do at any given moment is scratch thing.
Saturn is the author insert.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a reason she's the first one on the character selection screen. And for Luna Terra, she gets Ropa, who is a much older woman, like a trainer for all these kids, and she's just mom. Yeah, she's the tough mom who's just kind of tired of this and very much a realist, but also understands and gives like good advice for these kids when they need it. So everyone has a good counterpoint in their story, and there's a reason to go through all three other than just getting the endings, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all of them have a completely different view of the universe, and they're all working for these different factions that all want something different from humanity. They're all fighting over like this thing on the moon called a gravity well. It's never really...
It's a world where the gravity is. Yeah,
it's never explained what that really is or how it affects the world, because I don't think you could really explain it. It's
gravity.
This game deals in abstracts. But basically,
gravity is magic.
Basically, it can determine humanity's future, and each group defines humanity differently. Like one group says humanity is only people who live on Earth, and it doesn't matter if they were humans, if they were born in space. They're aliens. One group believes that humanity needs to abandon the Earth and venture out into space, and the other wants to completely surpass humanity altogether.
Right. That would be Celestial Mechanics, Kratos' Grace, as you can tell by the titles. Right.
Like those views are kind of reflected in each pilot's own stories, how they view the events, how they interact with the other pilots. Whether they actually believe in what they're fighting for with the group or not, it definitely affects their approaches in these battles of wills and words rather than violence.
I like how all three of the characters get described in this way. Like, Kratos' Grace's idea is described very well by how Pluto's constantly described as this large force that, like, using the gravity symbolism that's based around, like, the idea of culture. Culture and gravity compared a lot. The idea is, gravity is the norm. It is what everyone is tied down to and ultimately connects with and comes together with. And so Pluto is a force like this. She can create gravity with her mech, but she's also can basically she has this overwhelming personality that can bring people to her side. Saturn is a hot mess. And her entire thing, like it's even expressed with her mech ability, is to basically change a situation, like change how a situation is perceived. Like if something's about to hit her, it's like something might hit me or something. It's hard to. It's volatile. Very much a stand power.
She's like volatile, impulsive, and so you kind of don't know what to expect, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and
that changes how the reality is affected around her.
And all that's clear is that she's clearly the most rebellious one and does not respond well to authority. And of course you have Lunaterra, who is trying to be the most realistic person. She's also very tired, and it's shown well in her mech because it always has this open wound when you look at it in the art.
Which is obviously echoed by the wound.
I'm sorry?
Which is obviously echoed by the wound on her face, because it's sort of...
Yeah, she's covered in scars. And...
Right. So, like, so her entire thing is she has been beaten down by the world, or gravity in this case, and kind of sides with the Memorial Foundation with trying to get everyone back to Earth for this reason, because she thinks there's no other way, at least at first. So that's it makes it clear from character design to mech powers to just basic descriptions what each character stands for very, very well. And I like there's a bit of ironic stuff going on, like Pluto actually being very self-loathing and having the name of a planet so small it's not even considered a planet anymore, even though she's constantly described as this great giant force. Like, it's all very clever and easy to understand, but it does so much with those simple concepts that it elevates what could have been something very rote. And also, it does a lot of cool stuff with math.
I mean, it would have been very, very easy for this game to, one, have been incredibly bloated, and two, to very quickly fall into sort of the typical tropes of dating sims and or mecha anime, and sort of become... I mean, this is going to sound strange, but the work I would actually compare this to is, ironically, Evangelion, because it is a series about, as Heaven Will Be Mine is, about interpersonal relationships, where the sort of the robot fighting against the sort of the angels that come in and sort of threaten the planet, they eventually become, particularly in the later episodes, ciphers for, you know, the anxiety, the depression that Shinji, Asuka, and to a degree Rei feel. The sort of, you know, the background fights become, in a sense, particularly when you get to End of Evangelion, which sort of almost becomes metatextual in terms of how it approaches, you know, the giant robot anime genre. Sort of
End of Evangelion, when Shinji discovers the incel subreddit.
Yes. but no, do you see what I mean with the sort of, it is both, they are both works that sort of, you know, and even in the character, the sort of the appearances of the characters and the appearances, obviously Heaven Will Be Mine does this to a far more overt and a far more visually overt degree.
Yeah, it's like if the ideas of Evangelion were more clear, were more put upon in the actual design of the world instead of the more basic mecha design it went with.
Yeah,
it's like this is more End of Evangelion than TV Evangelion.
And all these characters are just they're not you could say they kind of maybe start out seeming a little tropey. Like, you could see how you would think that they'd be, like, tropey. Oh, you have the cool older one, you have the sort of the bad girl.
And the impulsive rookie.
The nice one. But these characters are all, when you get into the thick of it, they're all really, really believable. Like, I can think of two who, them and their, like, previous relationship, and the relationship that they had now it felt like it struck, it felt like looking into a mirror of me and someone else I knew at one point. And,
I mean...
Like, it felt eerily like looking into a mirror in their conversations and the things that split them apart, and it cut deep, I thought. I honestly felt that maybe Saturn was the least developed.
I actually resonated with Saturn more than the others.
Yeah, which I also kind of, like, I noted when I was writing about that I don't actually know if that's true. It might just entirely be because of how well I resonate with the others. But
well, for me,
yeah.
There's one moment in Saturn's playthrough and during one of the chats where she mentions that she wants to be an object, I believe it was. Like, like an object or a toy. No, not a toy. She didn't want to be a pet, she wanted to be a toy. And how she describes it, how it's, how should I put this? Especially the last part, which she says she wants to be something that can be seen but not touched. That's something that resonated with me on a pretty deep level, because I get a little anxious about opening myself up to other people, and I've never seen a game quite describe it so perfectly as this one. Like that feeling of what you actually kind of want to be instead of trying to put yourself out there. Like, that one hit me in a area I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah, they all... and, like, similarly, Lunaterra, who keeps getting scared and running away, and keeps switching sides, it's just kind of, like, damaging herself, and Pluto, who cares about people so much that she doesn't care for herself. Just getting into that stuff is... It cuts deep.
Yeah, but Saturn's like real lack of self-worth and trying to create that self-worth from nothing is that cut me deep, because that is something I can relate to. I do want to bring up Y2K real quick, and don't worry, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but like the reason I resonated so much with Alex's arc in that game is because I used to be a really, really, really shitty person. I look back at stuff I used to say and I'm kind of disgusted with myself, so I resonate a lot with stories about bad people trying to genuinely become their best self. But what's interesting about Saturn is that's not really her story. Her story is feeling like someone who doesn't have worth and trying to find it for herself, which is also something that really relates to me, because for a lot of my life, I was bullied a lot as a kid, for instance. And I honestly, there were times where I felt like there wasn't really a reason for me to be here. I still have a lot of existential dread, but I still want to... I like me now, and I want to try and figure out how I can be a better me, if that makes sense. Like, try to find what makes me like me, not what makes others like me. And so, like, that's the entire thing with Saturn. That seems to be what she wants the most, and if people like her, that's secondary. Which is something I gel with a lot. So that's why she really stood out to me as probably my favorite character in this game by a mile. And I liked all of them.
Yeah, I do really enjoy all of them. And they're all incredibly well written and developed.
Yeah, I'd say this is some of the best writing I've ever seen in a video game, without any exaggeration. This is like, you know, if this was on television or if this was, I don't know, a Netflix anime show, this thing would be sweeping awards. Because it is...
I actually think this is a good game that highlights why I don't seem to gel with the original Fate Stay Night. Because I knew a lot of people when I used to go on this anime forum I hate now,
Oh, yes.
praised that game all the time, and even the rather mediocre adaptation of A Limited Blade Works that released a few years back. And, like, I was left very cold by it. Like, there was a lot of ideas I liked, but it felt like it wasn't put together right. There wasn't enough focus on the actual characters. It wasn't that it was tropey. I love tropey shit. Code Geass is still my favorite anime ever, but like, it was trying to be something like deep and personal and meaningful, but it did this by having a major character compare being saved to being money? Like, the fuck are you doing? Nobody talks like that. Like, it there was a lot of pointless world building and stuff. Like, it was too bloated to really get me on a personal level, other than out of a few slant moments. But then I played I've played a lot of visual novels that make me feel like that, where they're too focused on like setting up the structure or exploring things in a very basic way. But this feels very real in a way I don't think like light novel or most visual novel writers can actually accomplish, because they've learned everything they know from like anime, games, and so forth. They don't have outside experience. When I read a really good novel or something like this, you have to make good use of the language. You have to get people involved in it, which is why the narration in this game, especially how sometimes narration between characters will bleed into each other through that psychic connection, is kind of brilliant, because it puts you more in the emotional state than the physical state, which is what you want most from something like this.
I mean,
Good novel writing needs abstraction. Good, like, being poetic needs abstraction. You can't just say things straight and expect people to always resonate with it. Sometimes you need to express something that can't be expressed through creative writing and dialogue and description.
And I think
This is why fan fiction gets looked down upon a lot, because a lot of it is just describing things, but that's not what good writing is. You can do good writing just with very basic writing like that, I understand, but this is a good example of what you can accomplish if you get more into the emotional state and don't treat reality as some perfect thing you have to get right all the time. And it really works for me for that reason.
Yeah, it's expressing feelings rather than events.
I mean, this is a
Exactly.
perfect example of how you don't need to, in a video game, particularly in visual novels, you don't have to sort of build this intricately sort of fleshed out world, because this game, for a large degree and for all three characters, does start in media res. These characters have backgrounds that are never really gone into in huge detail. The world obviously the setting itself has sort of got elements that we only really sort of find out through reading through characters' emails, and sort of obviously the intertexts that come up between the days on which this game takes place. So it's a triumph of character over setting in terms of storytelling.
I think it's also worth mentioning that a lot of the side villain characters are treated like more traditional anime tropey stuff. Like Lapidus, the leader of Celestial Mechanics. I won't get into what he's actually trying to do, but he's very much like a Gendo Akari. Who's the head of Xeon again? I forgot his name. Char, that's right. Char kind of motherfucker. And you also have like Dr. Nyx, who is a ridiculous idealist, who ends up wanting to do something genuinely monstrous for this dream, and it comes off as incredibly inhuman and strange, which contrasts well with the characters who are trying to basically find a place within or rebel against oppressive systems and norms of the culture. Which is why culture and gravity get mentioned so much. A lot of this is trying to, like, be yourself in a place that doesn't want you to be yourself.
I'm glad you brought up, like you mentioned, the head of Celestial Mechanics, because I want to mention something that they talked about on Twitter with regard to him. Like, really briefly, there's a moment in the game, like, the only art you see of him in the game, he is completely, like, pixelated out, so you can't, like, identify him at all. And I really appreciate this. They talked about on Twitter, the reason they went that direction is because every time they drew him, he was too hot, and they didn't want anyone thirsting after him at all.
Good.
Yeah. So I really appreciate that. Just really, really briefly. Which, again, everything, like, this game, it's not just the writing. Everything works so cohesively. Like, we talked about the art style.
It actually does something cool where it contrasts between the physical world, like how the characters are drawn in a very normal way, and then the abstraction in space. Like there's this ongoing thing in the game where basically space changes with gravity and culture, how people perceive it, which is why the Memorial Foundation renamed planets, so people saw it differently. They didn't see Mars as Mars, but as a dead sort of thing called Ares, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and like, not just like character designs and backgrounds, but also the UI. There are different UIs for whoever character you have in the game, and they're beautiful. I thought Pluto's one was a little harsh with all the red, but it kind of works.
And it also has all the deep.
Yeah, the sound, like, the sound design in this game is spectacular. Both the soundtrack is beautifully oppressive.
I should mention
haunting.
I suspect that someone who worked on Lady Killer and the Bind worked on this game, which wouldn't surprise me because, like, there's a lot of overlap in friendships between those two development teams. But Lady Killer and the Bind did a very cool thing to make the scenes transition and flow properly, where there were multiple tracks of one music track made with a different mood or atmosphere to it. So as you made choices and continue on through a dialogue, it would change into another version of the track almost seamlessly, keeping the track going, but the tone of it would change with how the scene was progressing, and that sort of thing happens all the time in this game.
Yeah, I listened to the soundtrack just kind of on repeat when I was writing my review, and God, it is beautiful. It is haunting. And the sound design, like just the sound effects for the UI and everything, like, it's kind of like a retro futuristic type, where you're dealing with monitors and kind of the sound effects that accompany them, and it's such a joy to just listen to.
Obviously, the soundtrack does take cues from a lot of 80s futurists. I mean, there is undoubtedly an element of Vangelis and sort of other soundtracks, and sort of I would almost say there is a Blade Runner influence in terms of the sound effects of as you said, Danny, the consoles and sort of thing, the very analog electronic sounds. I mean, there is, particularly the beginning of Lunar Terror's sort of section, there is this almost sort of Japanoise harsh noise sort of element to it that sort of is actually remarkably sort of and it's unsettling, and it sort of gives you, and the other thing is it is a soundtrack which for all the characters it does sort of fit them perfectly. You know, you for example, as I said, Lunar Terror section starts with harsh, dissonant, actually quite unpleasant, and it's probably the most dissonant track on the soundtrack, and it sort of gives you a sense of this sort of jumbled, sort of not quite happy person, sort of instantly
disjointed.
Hang on, everyone. I just got word of something else surprising. So remember when I said this?
Is back up.
Don't worry. We'll get back to the main thing in a minute. But you know how I said that something awful is done? Screw Attack is too. So there's a hashtag on Twitter right now saying "Rip Screw Attack." Apparently, the site is being put down. Because like it's owned by Rooster Teeth now, so maybe they're the ones who made the call.
Rooster Teeth have got their own site.
That's actually a big deal for me and Elmo, and also Lamar, because that's where we all met.
R.I.P. getting angry at Death Battle every time it's on.
God, I said so much stupid shit there, but that's basically where I started my online persona. God, that sucks.
I don't have an online persona.
Sorry, get back to that. Just kind of hit me like a sack of bricks.
Yeah, I bet.
Right, anyway, what were we talking about? Soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, really need to buy the soundtrack of this. Which you can...
I need to, too, because I think
like
I can
$10.
use it in episodes
It's on
pretty
Bandcamp.
easily.
Go buy it now.
I should wait until I have enough money, I think, because... how much is
let me
it?
double check.
Bang. I don't know about on Bandcamp. On Steam, it's $10.
Yeah, I probably have to wait a little. I can't justify that. I could probably just download tracks off
$8.
YouTube, but I don't want to do that for indie soundtracks if I can avoid it.
$8 on Bandcamp.
I'll wait a little, but it's on the list. Okay, let's see.
What do you think, Elmo?
Well, I was playing the whole
You've been a
time,
little quiet.
like, why isn't there a straight option for them all? And then I got so angry, I had to go to my kitchen and drink some bottles of mayonnaise. Ooh.
And then you ate some raw
Straight
meat.
up.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
This is the only way you can be sure that the Earth is flat. Now you need to go leave your house and go with a camera with a t-shirt that says Moonlander or Homeless Tweaker Shelter and ask people if they think the Earth is flat and get in arguments with them, and then after you get kicked out of an Arby's or something, you can say go walk back to your camera and say, well, this was a productive day.
Isn't that Emma?
I did try to write down my thoughts for the game, but they just kept coming out. Like I tried to really sum up how I felt about the writing, and all I came up with was, I liked it.
Game good.
Yeah.
Fire bad.
Oh, I did feel really proud because I was able to.
Hot.
I was able to successfully interpret one theme myself, and I was like, "Yes, I'm the smartest guy alive."
Congratulations.
Which one was it?
Okay, now I'm scared to say, because what if it turns out it isn't even a theme and I was looking at the wrong thing? Okay,
Congratulations.
it was. It's no spoilers, but I think it was during one of the endings. It's when you get into how all of the girls and the backstory. It's a case where the ship selves, they were from Earth and then they were created, or rather, forced into these ship selves. And now that there's no kind of alien threat, there's a lot of people on Earth now who are like, oh, those weird people in their ship selves. Yeah. Oh, I don't like them. I'm not a fan. And I remember getting to that bit and thinking, that's weird. Why would you, not like some people just because they're slightly different in ways that make them really awesome and cool? And then I got it. And
just because they were born
yes!
somewhere else.
Yeah, and then I was just like, yes, I got it! I successfully understood the most basic message of the game. Yay!
The game is saying that the Earth is flat.
And Dark,
Hail
here
Sobek.
in the podcast is where you start playing the last song from the congratulations scene in Evangelion.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can actually. My editing skills are good enough to do that.
Got it on my computer.
Oh, and yeah, I do want to give a retraction. Really, when I said something awful was gone. No, it's Screw Attack, and yeah, that sucks. Keep going.
I've now seen the tweet that's just the guy from Screw Attack, Craig, saying that it's changing to just the Death Battle channel. I thought it did that 4 years ago.
It has always been the death.
Okay, let's get back on track. I think we've covered a lot. Oh, we didn't even describe the structure of the game, and I'll do that real fast. It's you pick a character, and then you go through 8 missions, and by missions I mean you go have gay thoughts with one of the girls that you didn't pick, and then you decide if you want to go for your faction ending or a different faction ending. And there are 3 endings, so there's not really much of a point of doing a betrayal if you just want to see all the endings.
Get an achievement.
Well, yeah, that's... Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, let's just go ahead and get into spoilers, because I got words for the endings.
Robots.
Is one of them gay?
Okay, so, as I said, there are 3 faction endings, and in a cute way, it actually kind of highlights if you try to get a secret ending like you did in We Know the Devil, where if you get all factions at 50% or like at an even percentage, it's just like, now we get to choose our own true ending instead of actually giving you another ending.
So I did that on my first playthrough.
Yeah, so the 3 faction endings are Celestial Mechanics, Cradle Graces, and Memorial Foundation. And the thing is, it basically decides which girl decides the fate of humanity and all the space people. And I think, the best way to go about it is the way I did it, which was Saturn, Pluto, and then finally Lunaterra. And what's interesting about this is that...
That's how I did it.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is I first thought the way the game was set up that I was deciding which faction would win, but no, it's which character gets to decide, and which is why I didn't do Lunaterra first, because Memorial Foundation sounds fucking terrible, but you're actually not fighting for them if you go with their ending. So yeah, that finally got me to decide after the first 2 endings ending with, and then they didn't do the thing. I was like, what's going to happen in the 3rd one? And I'm glad I did that, because that's clearly the best ending.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get to that. One
so,
thing, what I love is how whenever you make a choice, it just tells you which one it'll make your influence rise with.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
It basically decides who gets the most influence in the relationship, and who ultimately gets to decide why the other 2 help out.
Yeah.
So, I like all 3 endings, but yeah, the last one's definitely the best one. Celestial Mechanics was the first one I got, and it's good because Saturn was like the most simple and character out of the 3, and she's just like, fuck all your shit, let's go be space demons. And they're like,
let's go
okay.
be gay space demons.
And then Lapita's like, that's what I wanted, so we can fight the space demons. Like, nah, no way, fucker. We're gonna be like a thing you can't actually fight, and we're gonna be like a bridge, and then if other people wanted to be gay space demons, they can do that, and that solves everything. Which was a good ending, and very similar to the Devil ending and We Know the Devil. The second ending I wasn't so wild about. Basically, Pluto decides not to do the thing Dr. Nix wants, which is destroy Earth's gravity so everyone dies and has to go to space, which is insane. And instead decides, fuck it, we'll fight Earth forever, but it'll be like with the like mech fighting, so nobody ever dies ever, and we'll keep colonizing space and they can go fuck themselves. And which, kind of weak. But then you get to the Memorial Foundation ending, and Lunaterra is like, you know what? Fuck it. She shoots the gravity well. It's like, I'm gonna change math and steal the moon. Gay moon, everyone. And Earth's just gotta watch us being gay forever.
Yeah, and then they wake up the next morning in a poly relationship with all three of them, and like all the planets are gravitating towards each other.
And Earth just has to look at the moon and just realize it kind of got cucked.
Moon is gay now, guys. Sorry.
So yeah, I got those endings in the same order. I liked how I did it, where I got the Celestial Mechanics ending with Saturn, but with the other two, I went Lunaterra next, and then Pluto for my character choices, and I chose the other faction's ending for both characters. So I got Pluto with Lunaterra, and then Lunaterra's ending with Pluto, and I really liked doing it that way. I really liked playing as a character and having that character's ideas challenged until they eventually decide, you're right, actually. Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, I like that it's not what you would normally expect from like an RPG or a visual novel, where you just go through a scenario to do the thing, where it's very straightforward. But this is like, no, you're not playing a character, you're just deciding which of the three characters gets their ending. It's a nice change of pace, and puts distance between the player and the character. So like, this is not a game in traditional sense, it's more like a narrative experience, and I honestly like that a lot. Like, if you remember Gone Home, I actually do like that game a lot, because it's just like going through this house and understanding more about all these people you've not met by going through their things, reading the notes and stuff. And this kind of reminded me of that sort of experience, where you're just kind of an active observer of sorts. And it's kind of the thing I like that a lot. And I'm considering a game for the future that works similar in a similar sort of way, because that's definitely a good bread and butter. We get a lot of discussion from that for this type of show.
Yeah, it's hard to really get into spoiler talk for such a short game. I got all the endings in like a little over 4.5 hours.
About same.
And it's the events are really abstract, so it's more about the conversations. I like that you get a lot of the scenes of them like being intimate with each other. Specifically, you get them with Lunaterra and well, not a lot, because each pair has their own scene. But I just think those are nice scenes.
Yeah, like if you go Pluto Dom and Pluto X Lunaterra stuff is like Pluto just being really pissed off and mad and finally saying what she wasn't able to say. While if Lunaterra is the dominant one, they basically just have a nice moment they haven't had in a while and kind of apologize. Yeah. Meanwhile, in everything involving Saturn, she's clearly like, I'm gonna claw something. Then will you call me a good girl? And that's great.
Claws.
Yeah, they're not like titillating scenes. They're just intimate.
Well, that is something.
That's really hard to pull off, and I'm impressed this game managed it.
It helps kind of with the art style, I think.
Oh yeah, I really like how diverse all the body types are in this game. Oh, and I should mention something I didn't realize until I checked out the TV tropes page, though I did kind of suspect it with Lunaterra. Lunaterra and Pluto are trans women.
Oh. I expected it with Lunaterra, but I didn't know about that with Pluto.
Yeah, that's neat.
Awesome.
Somewhere, Graham Linehan's head has just perked up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really fucking angry for some reason. But Jesus, what is this?"
This 200-foot tall robot, Graham. You're gonna fight it.
Yeah. It's going to start a poll on Twitter. Like, do you hate the robots? Yes. Also yes.
He would fight you.
I'm just so fucking angry all the
He
time.
would try and fight the robots.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I like.
Father
Yeah,
Ted was a bad show.
Oh,
It was. He worked on it, so it's bad.
that's fair. God, just airbrush him out. And we're like, Father Ted, starring
Nobody.
the guy who played Dougal. That's it.
Well, the rest of them are all dead.
John Stewart?
The rest of them are dead anyway.
No, John Stewart
yeah.
was the bad guy in the Dougal dub.
They're all dead now.
And John Stewart jokes about it to this day. You know, he's probably still joking about it, but now with the extra caveat that he did it for the Weinstein Corporation, it's like, oh boy.
Oh god.
Anyways. Yeah, this game was really good.
Graham Lineham would hate it, 10 out of 10.
Strange question then, I guess. What was everybody's favourite character?
Saturn.
Lunatera.
Lunatera was a close second, though. Yeah.
They're all great. They're incredibly well written characters. Probably all three of them.
I also kind of gelled with Mercury a lot, because I too feel like the only sane person in my life at times.
Yeah, I would agree with. It's like I just want more people to play this game because it is so damn good.
It already has a pretty strong audience, because like we know the Devil was kind of an indie darling when it came out, and this improved so much on it that it got really good word of mouth. So it's getting the audience it aimed for, and thankfully not a wider audience, because fuck the wider
It
audience.
doesn't need a wider audience.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I follow a few indie developers, and they all have different views on their audiences. And the one I find most interesting is Will O'Neill, because the guy who made Actual Sunlight, a game about his own struggle with depression and attempted suicide, guess what, is a huge downer. And he occasionally talks about how the indie scene has become very stagnant, and it's mainly just a few people who have made a niche for themselves, just kind of surviving at this point. And, you know, he's not wrong. But then you get something like this, and I'm like, he is a straight cis guy, so, like, he's not the absolute authority, and I think he even admits at times he doesn't fully understand, you know, he would not be able to properly judge stuff like this other than deciding if the writing was good or bad. And I do know he likes a lot of the writing and Christian Love stuff. So, and he's actually had some good opinions on a lot of indie games. He's done some judging stuff for like a few indie game awards for writing and such. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, I'm wondering how the people who made this game view the indie scene. Because I suspect it's just like, okay, what games are gay?
This one.
Is that game gay? I like it. Because I suspect that's as far as they thought, and I kind of like that. This is made by people who do not seem to give a shit about, like, the state of the indie gaming industry. They're just making what they want to make. They found their audience, and so they get to do that, and that's cool. That was a very confused point.
No, I would agree entirely with what.
I honestly just kind of lost my train of thought, because I wanted to bring something up about Little Red Lie, which is a very good game, but it's not for everyone by a huge country mile. But, yeah, all these indie devs seem to have completely different views on it. Like, Devolver Digital seems to be very business-focused. They're just trying to pretend they're not business-focused, and they're kind of getting worse at it the more successful they are. Like, I'm not so excited whenever they do anything now. I just care about a lot of games they develop, but not so much Devolver Digital themselves. And it's kind of helped me put it more into perspective how important the voice of the developers themselves are, not the people who publish that help get these games out there. So something like this that pretty much just gets out there on its own merits, and just like, we're gay, weird, and abstract, and don't give a shit about the usual video game audience, that always makes me happy.
Which is this game to a T.
It's like if like, Little Red Lie is not for a traditional video game audience because it's all about how the world is fucking doomed and rich people are so fucking rich that they don't even exist as basic human beings anymore and are unable to understand what other humans exist as, which it turns out to have been completely and utterly justified as a game thanks to the current third-party presidential candidate we have to fucking deal with. He fucking called it. But this is not pessimistic. This is trying to, like, let's find something good in a really bad situation, which is hard to do. And I do like it's much less pessimistic than We Know the Devil was, which I think focused too much on the painful experience of being queer. And I like this thing that's still very much grounded in reality and the harshness we do have to deal with, but is like there is an answer somewhere in there, which is so fucking refreshing for queer media.
It does feel, having played both the games, like Heaven Will Be Mine is the almost the answer to a lot of the questions and a lot of the fears that sort of We Know the Devil sort of put down. And I think it is the same sort of the ideas, the same sort of general concept and general feel, but done on a much more accomplished scale.
Yeah. I like that you said everything that I just said, but in like one sentence.
This is why I'm here.
My brain just kind of went everywhere just now. But yeah, any final thoughts?
I love this game.
What did you think of the game, Elmo?
I feel like I'm appropriating LGBTQ culture by liking this so much.
Don't worry,
are.
we're all
Like,
gay, and
I
you're
feel
like,
like-
it's fine.
I'm not allowed to like this game as much as I do.
You are. You
And-
just
No,
can't
you're
like
not.
say this is something only straights could make.
No.
I'm sure there's someone out there who's gonna fucking do that.
Why
No,
isn't
Elmo
there a
isn't allowed
white?
to like this.
Why isn't there a White History Month?
Why is there a men's day?
There actually
It's
is.
in November.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. It was really
Remember
nice.
when I made you play Toko Reject Demon?
Yeah, this was like that, except really good.
So yeah, that was an interesting episode looking back because Lamar is queer, but he's also really into Bara. So like, you got nothing to work with in a gay girl game, and obviously I should not be talking about gay girl games alone. And of course, the only other person there was Elmo. So that episode was a disaster. So I'm glad I have two very gay people here, and one of them is an actual lesbian, and that we need that for this podcast because I do plan to look at more incredibly gay stuff, and we need variety in that. It's a shame none of us are into Bara, though.
Into what?
Bara.
What's bother?
It's like Yaoi, except everyone has muscles exploding off
Barra.
them.
Is Yakuza close enough?
No,
JoJo?
that's still very
They're very
Bishonen.
pretty. Even Majima's pretty.
Majima is extremely pretty.
I cosplay Majima now.
Majima's a gross trash boy.
We love him.
Yeah, I know, but in a
He's
pretty
beautiful.
way.
We love Majima.
Majima senpai.
I bet you can get a Daikimura.
I really love this game.
Yeah, I
It was
understand
my
why.
favorite game of last year for a reason. I'm glad. I'm really glad Tama chose this one because you all got to play it now.
This might be a contender for my list in the coming year, but I still got more games to play. Like, I got to finish Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and I'm actually gelling with that series really well, even though Tiny Tina is the worst single character in video games ever. But, like, this is a big contender. It's definitely going to get shout-outs, at least when I do my awards blog thing.
This is on.
Yeah,
Since there's no more old Suda51 visual novels to get re-released, like, nothing's going to come close to it in terms of writing.
I'm probably gonna play the Silver Case soon.
You know what? I need to consider that for an episode, so we can eventually do the 25th award, because holy shit, that game.
Is it under $20? Silver Case?
I don't know. I don't remember the price points for those two.
I would think it's like 25 or something.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. But oh well. Y'all know it's there, so you can all play it on your old time. It's really good.
No, it's $20.
Yes.
Anyways. Final thoughts.
It's really gay and good. I like it.
Yeah. I can't... I hope their next game can be in this vein, but something very different.
Elmo, say something that a terrible person would say about this game, but in a funny way.
Hi, I'm Graham Lineham.
And I endorse this tweet.
Perfect.
Sorry, that's the most terrible thing I can think of. If you're a fan of the genre, this game is a must-play. If you're not a fan of the genre, you should play it and become a fan of the genre.
Well said.
Oh, that's my review of Unavowed.
Space is gay now, sorry guys.
It was always gay.
The moon is gay. That's the rule now. I'm sorry, Graham Lineham, but you can't come out at night because there's a chance you'll see the moon.
Yeah, the moon
And
is
it's gay
always,
and trans.
The moon has always been a lesbian.
Remember when Graham Lineham tried to backpedal on this by saying he's bisexual and thus it's okay to hate trans people?
Ugh.
Yeah, fuck him. The absolute piss boy. Alright, and next episode is a panel choice. Everyone gets to pick one game, $5 or under. And I will start us off. I choose Sarah is Missing. This is on itch.io. I will give a link to it because you can pay anything you want on itch.io for this one. It is a game played entirely within like a cell phone screen where you're going through a seemingly missing person's phone to try and figure out more about them and get involved in an interesting mystery. This game actually has a lot of accolades as far as the indie scene goes, so I've been meaning to get to it for a while, and I figured this is a perfect time as any to do it.
I've been seeing a lot... I feel like I've been seeing a lot more of these found phone games popping up lately, so I'm interested to check this out.
Yeah, I think Sarah is Missing was one of the first ones, or at least one of the first big ones.
Is it out on, like, app stores or just itch.io?
It might be on app stores, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's also on itch.io, of course.
Cool.
So yeah, you may have choice in that. I would be surprised if it was not on app stores.
I'll go next with mine. Speaking of games that you can find on your phone, my choice for the panel episode is Reigns Her Majesty.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. I have the first Reigns.
Yeah, it's the sequel to that. Like I technically played this on the Switch version, which is Reigns and Reigns Her Majesty, but on Steam and iPhone and Android, you can just buy Reigns and Reigns Her Majesty. I specifically want to do Reigns Her Majesty because I think it's a lot better than Reigns.
Didn't Leigh Alexander do some work on it?
Yes, she's the writer on it, I believe.
Yeah, I thought so.
And it's basically just like a Tinder-style swipe left, swipe right on all these different people, but you're taking on the role of a queen, and you have to rule the kingdom, and certain actions will make certain bars go up and others go down. It's kind of like in the vein of like Princess Maker or Long Live the Queen. It's one of those type games, but with a Tinder-style interface. And you just go through all these generations of queens. It's really interesting. There's a lot of... It seems simple, but there is, like, once you play it for a while, there's some deeper stuff going on.
2 games about women. This podcast must really think the Earth is round. Did that make sense? No? Whatever. Okay, who wants to make their pick next? Elmo, Tama?
I want to wait until the last moment so that I can check to see if the game I wanted is on sale.
For God's sake, Elmo.
It's Secret Monkey Island. Special edition.
Wait, Secret
of Monkey
Oh
Island
yeah!
Special edition. Just £2.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yep.
Okay, there's no more time. It was going to be the Shiva, but okay, give me a second. Oh my god, it's on sale! 50% off! It's under $5. Hidden, folks. We're going to be making funny noises with our mouths.
Wait, which game?
Hidden Folks. I'm so happy. It's 50. I'll buy it for all of you because it's 50% off, and it's a pretty silly Where's Waldo type game.
Looks cute.
Yeah,
Hang on, I'm looking it up.
and it's like there's not that much to say about it. So
Oh
as
yeah,
soon
it's
as,
normally $8. You got lucky. Buy it for me right now, nerd.
so yeah, as soon as we're done talking about it, I'm like, so Tama, do an impression of someone watering their garden and then accidentally pointing the hose directly at their own face.
Okay, so we got a good selection here. We have an indie darling, sort of alternate reality sort of thing. We have a Tinder game apparently that I would have described it as a card game, but okay.
Well, it's Tinder style interface.
We have Where's Waldo, and we have an all-time gaming classic that I'm pretty sure none of us have actually played, so this should be interesting.
Hey!
There's no genuinely bad games on this list this time. I will never apologize. I like Red Comrade Save the Galaxy. Fight me.
I liked it too.
Aurora Borealis.
How should we end
Boris
this?
on the dash.
And it cannot be something related to Graham Lineham.
Wouldn't White History Month just be Black History Month again from the point of view of the bad guys?
Instead of ending on that, let's just all clap and say congratulations.
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 What?
The Earth is flat.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Penguin noise.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You know what, Shinji?
Congratulations.
Shinji, wake up.
Congratulations.
Look at this Billy Hatcher scrub.